Okay, when we're looking at Macbeth, we're going to start with the witches. Now, we know that we use this little image of a triangle to represent society, and society is ordered in a very specific way. In Shakespeare's time, the kind of belief systems of the time meant that the order of society was founded not only on things like rule of law, but also on a very, very close and very tight connection between rule of law and religion, and therefore society during the Jacobean era, during when Shakespeare's writing Macbeth, believes that every single piece of order, every part of the status quo is determined by God. And we call that the great chain of being. That chain is determined by God. And because God chooses that order, then the king who sits at top here, he has divine right. He is chosen by God. So the king had divine right and they were chosen by God. And every single order of every single person and their kind of role in society, even all the way down to like minerals and animals, they were decided by God. Okay? And then we have characters in this play called the witches. And the witches are supernatural. Okay? They are magically powerful, but their power is immoral. It's likely their power doesn't come from God. Their power comes from devilish, fiendish, immoral influence. They're likely given their power by the devil. So they're almost the antithesis of divine power, okay? And the supernatural, their purpose in this play is to represent and symbolize things that cause destabilization, yeah? That takes society from this to this. Yeah, the idea that it is now not in order, that it has been destabilized. And Shakespeare shows that lack of order, that chaos, that destabilization through the words of the witches. Because the witches open this play, because the play is about corruption, transgression, and immorality. And the witches are the symbols for that in society because really, although this is a play about one man and kind of his decisions, the play is a much larger story, an allegory. When I say an allegory, I mean kind of a metaphorical story for what can happen or what can destabilize the things that make society good. So, for example, destabilize morality, destabilize honor, destabilize heroism, destabilize a king, for example, put the wrong person on the throne. And the witches in the first scene, they say, fair is foul and foul is fair. In other words, the witches want to create destabilization, okay? And if they want to create destabilization, what do they want to cause? They want to cause instability, turmoil, chaos. So the witches are characters that want to turn and transform good into bad, fair into foul. So when we see the word fair, and we're going to use this quote all the way through our essays, remember, when we see the word fair, we're thinking things that are good, beautiful. Yeah, if you say someone looks fair or she is fair, she's good and beautiful, okay? Whereas foul is the opposite of that. Ugly, evil. So really, we're looking at the ideas of something being fair, moral, and something being foul, immoral. So the witches themselves are the antithesis of good. We know that they are foul. We know that they are evil. So even the characters themselves are a contradiction because they're talking about goodness and yet they are evil. So we know they cannot mean to make things good. And their language is antithetical. Fair is foul and foul is fair. Well, that is antithetical. It cannot happen. The witches are paradoxical. They use opposite language that cannot make sense. So what they want to do is they want to create kind of paradoxical, kind of antithetical situations. They want to create instability. they are contradictions, okay? Because what they want is they want fair to become foul. And they do this through chaos and turmoil, because we know that chaos and turmoil causes confusion. Confusion literally, so maybe we cannot see our way out, literal confusion, maybe like, for example, warfare. There's a lot of confusion, we don't know where to go, we don't know what to do, etc. Decision confusion, but also confusion of the mind, mental confusion, confusion of loyalty, of piety, confusion of kind of our connection to God, for example. That kind of confusion can destabilize people and by proxy societies. So the witches, they will use appearances or suggestions of fair to corrupt and transform what is good into foul. So the witches teach us that appearances can be deceiving, because while it seems like they have good news with their prophecies in scene 3, we actually know that they want to turn what is fair into what is foul. And the fact that they can do this, they can transform what is good into what is bad, reveals to us that things are quite fragile. That people are fragile. That ideas such as trust and morality are fragile. If they can be deceived, they mustn't be that potent. And that society and the bonds and order within society is fragile. It can be destabilized. And so the message of this play is, what happens if we yield to this kind of immorality, this instability, this foul influence? And what happens if we resist this foul influence?